sure we are going to learn a lot in this evening's program. Continue from where we stopped last week, and the program still remains exploring the diverse career opportunity beyond the BDS. And this is the second series of ULADS webinar program, and one out of many more to come. So, like we all know, based on what we've sent out today's program will be on research, clinical research, and project management, and there are a lot of information to unpack from that. And we all know that I think this is a very key topic where everyone wants to learn from, because I mean, especially some of us that are interested in research, quite a lot of us are interested in research and how to get into it, especially outside the country. I will be reading the speaker's profile in a moment from now. Dr. Temitope has over 8 years experience working in the Nigerian healthcare sector, including 3 years in public health practice with focus on health management information system (HMIS), monitoring and evaluation. He has provided technical support to state governments in Nigeria in the areas of health planning, monitoring and evaluation. He was part of the Partnership for Transforming Health System Teams, an 8-year health system strengthening program in Nigeria. He worked with Farm Access Foundation Nigeria as a monitoring and evaluation manager and as an associate consultant with LAMP Development, a not-for-profit organization providing practical advice, solutions, and support to improve the impact of AIDS programs through economic evaluations. He currently works with the Tom Baker Cancer Center (TBCC) in Alberta, Canada, as a clinical research coordinator. Dr. Temitope holds a bachelor degree in dental surgery from the University of Lagos and certification in monitoring and evaluation from the USAID Measure Evaluation Online Program and Collaborative Institutional Training Initiative (CITI) on Good Clinical Practice, Division 5 on Biomedical Research. He has completed a Masters in Public Health at the University of Roehampton, London. Is a District Health Information Systems 2 Level 1 graduate from the DHIS 2 Academy, Health Information System Program Nigeria and University of Oslo. And another important thing to make mention of is a former ULADS Vice President. Permit me to welcome Dr. Temitope. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Control, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to everyone as well. Yes. And then I don't know if we can start or
Yes, sir. You have the floor, sir. You can project, sir. You can share your screen.
Okay, so let's do that. I don't know why there is an echo, but it looks like there is one. But okay, so I would try to share the window that's got the presentation on it. Dismiss. Okay, so let me see just a bit so that I can make this a little bit bigger. Yes, I think it's better now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks. So good evening everyone once again, and good morning from here. And it's nice getting to know it. It's nice to be here actually. I also want people to be able to put a face to the name. So let me just turn on video for a bit and see if we can see. Yes, so you guys can see my face.
Yes, sir. We can see your face, sir.
Okay, so that's fine. All right. So I didn't want this session to sort of like have a lot of things in it. I wanted us to be able to separate project management, clinical research into like, I want us to look at them from two different perspectives. So because of that, and also I'm wary of boring of having to provide so many information to people and then they're wondering what exactly are we even talking about? So, and also wanted to stay within a particular time limit as well, so that at least we'll be able to take specific things out of this session. There are areas of convergence between public health research and clinical research. There are areas of divergence as well. So, as much as possible, I would talk a lot about opportunities in clinical research in this session, and then maybe um, in the very near future, we can sort of have another session that talks about public health research, program coordination, and project management in that space together. But of course, in this session as well, I would be telling you about clinical research. I'll be telling you about how to get into clinical research and what are those things that you're already doing that you can leverage on to be able to advance or to be able to jumpstart a career, even in public health or even in clinical research. So some of these things will be applicable in both fields. Like I said before, there are areas of convergence and areas of divergence, right? So thank you. And the presentation is just going to follow this format. I would talk a bit. I don't have an outline, so I will talk a bit about clinical research, the opportunities, the things you need to do, and all of that. Then, if we still have time, then get questions from guys on the floor, and then if we still have more time, I will tell you like what a day to day looks like as a clinical research coordinator or as a clinical researcher, and because it's very important for I think that is very going to be valuable because you would be able to understand what you would ordinarily do in that position or in that role, and then you can begin to see some of the things that you do or some of the things that you can do to be able to prepare you to get into that kind of opportunity. Yes. So, what is clinical research? So, clinical research is simply organized research that is conducted in humans. And the whole idea is it's intended to provide adequate information on the use of drugs and devices as a therapeutic agent with regards to the usefulness, the safety, and adverse events or adverse effects of the drug. So we are conducting this research in humans. And this is very important because clinical research is one of those fields where innovation contributes directly to results that impact lives physically. So I'll give you an example. You have a drug that has not been tested before, or let me start from the disease. So you have an ailment that is killing people, and they've tested different types of drugs, and it's not working for that particular ailment. And somebody goes into the lab and then comes together with um, this drug or this new medication and says, oh, this medication is, it believes that this medication is going to be very good for this ailment that we have been trying to treat, maybe a very strange cancer or something. And that person says, we believe that we've done a lot of research, we've read a lot of books, and we've been able to come up with this combination that will target these particular tumor cells. And as a result of that, this person takes that research, now starts reaches out to different pharmaceutical companies, and they decide to say, okay, let's fund and see if this is possible to achieve. And then they start that process to make that drug come to life from preclinical trials to phase one, phase two, and all of those phases. And at the end of it, they start testing the drug in humans. And you find out that people that had this cancer before, they get that drug maybe for about 1 year or maybe 2 years. They're on this medication and then they get better. They stand a better chance of living and they are able to prolong their life, give them extra 10, 20, 30 years to be with their family and all of that. So this is not government policy that you're waiting for years for it to be implemented as a result of a budget. This is a direct effect of something that's been produced that is going to help some people, and you are going to actually see people get better as a result of your efforts. So you are seeing efforts that are directly linked to impact, that's directly impacting people's lives. So that is why I feel like clinical research is very, very important, and it's very, very interesting. And the things that you want to provide information about, I mentioned usefulness. So is this drug useful? Is it going to be able to help to tackle the ailment that we have said that the drug will help tackle? That's usefulness. Safety. In pharmacology, they will always say every drug is a poison. They say all drugs are poison, but not all poisons are drugs, or something like that. And you would notice that safety is something that is very paramount in clinical research, because you don't want to administer drugs and people will die as a result of the drug. They would have to cancel the trial, and all of the money and effort that have gone into it would be a waste. So safety is also something that is very, very important in clinical research, or testing for biomedical devices and all of that. Then adverse events or adverse effects. Adverse effects
No,
are
sorry
things
to
that,
interrupt you, sir. Hello, sir. Hi, Dr.
yes,
Tokwe.
please.
Yes, sorry to interrupt
Yes.
you. We can't see your screen.
You can't see my screen.
Yes, sir. We are seeing your face.
Okay. Let me turn off the video and see if you guys will be able to see my screen now. Select window to share entire screen. I would have thought you guys were seeing my screen. Entire screen share. Now,
Yes, we are good
can
now.
you see my screen now? Oh,
Yes,
okay,
we are good now.
excellent.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. All right. So I was talking about usefulness, safety, and adverse events or adverse effects of drugs. And those are the three major things that you test. Usefulness, is the drug useful for the ailment that you're trying to test it for? Safety, is it safe enough to use? Like, you can't use it in thousands of people and there won't be any like deaths or any organ failure or anything related to the use of the drug at the dose that you have said it's safe to use. And then adverse effects. Adverse effects helps the trial or the clinical trial implementers know when a drug is, what are those things that they are supposed to look out for in the drug as people are using it, and what are those things that those that are administering the drugs to the patients are watching out for as well, such that you can document all of these things and be able to show the world that if you use the drug at this particular level, this is what happens, or if you use the drug with this other medication, this is what will happen. So drug interactions and all of those things. So those are the other things that you also document as well as part of safety, as part of the brochure for the drug, to say these are all of the things that we have noticed from using this drug, and we know that if people use these drugs at the right dose, they are not going to have any of these adverse effects, or these adverse effects are going to be minimal, or they are going to be reduced, or they're going to be of the slightest. So basically, so it's what clinical research is all about in a very brief manner. So types of clinical research, you would have you have research that has to do with drugs, medications, that's the most common, your anti-cancer drugs, your even the drugs that you use commonly in the clinics regularly, they came from clinical research. If you read back 20, 30, 40, 60 years ago, amoxicillin, paracetamol, all of those things you will see some form of documentation in terms of the existence and how those things came to be. And then biologics. Biologics just basically refers to therapies like stem cell transplantation or all of those bone marrow transplants, and a lot of those research are related to all those immunes and or the blood tissue related research or therapies. And then you have medical devices. Medical devices has to do with all your Apple products and watch and patches and even the phones that now track heart rate and all of those things. All those things also go through clinical research, and even chips and a lot of things happen in medical devices as well. And you can have research that is done along those lines, and you would be amazed at the kind of things that happens. And what are we testing for in all of these places? Efficacy, like I mentioned before, efficiency, toxicity. I'd mentioned about safety adverse events before. That's related to toxicity in terms of what is the maximum tolerable dose of the drug, or what is the maximum tolerable frequency of a particular procedure, for example. That's something that would have to be checked in terms of toxicity. And then efficiency is something that I didn't mention in the previous slide. For efficiency, you're looking at how cheap is it, or how cost effective is it to be able to implement this research? How much are we spending? And then what is the result that we are getting? Because a lot of the time you'll find out that clinical research activities or clinical research projects or trials and all of them, or clinical trials are some of the most inefficient tasks in the world, or some of the most inefficient projects in the world, because there are specific rules and regulations that you need to follow. And for you to be able to successfully follow these rules and regulations, you need to do certain things and spend money in those directions. Those things are not going to help you produce the drugs, but there are, for instance, what we call GCP regulations and other good clinical practice regulations that you need to adhere to within your facility. There are FDA regulations that you need to adhere to at the sponsor level, at the facility level. All of those things, Health Canada regulations, all of those things need to be followed, but they are not day-to-day tasks that leads to producing the drugs. They are not day-to-day tasks that happens in the facilities, but these things will require you to spend money on them as well. So there are a lot of inefficiencies related to clinical research, but as much as possible, sponsors are going to be looking at how much have we spent, what have we produced, or how much have we spent, what are we going to be able to produce with how much we are going to spend or how much we have spent. And this is where efficiency comes in to be able to balance the process. And the pharmaceutical enterprise. So why I have decided to share this slide is for us to be able to see the opportunities that sort of exist and to see a flow in how this happens. So from discovery, so discovery would happen in the uh, in the chemistry lab, or in the biochemistry lab, and all of those labs where they are mixing compounds and trying to discover, okay, this was used before for this particular cell, or for this particular tumor cell. Okay, can we modify it a bit and see if it will work in this other particular tumor cell? And then they take whatever they discovered in the lab and then take it to preclinical research. Preclinical research is usually done in rats or in animals. Basically, they are not done in humans. But this is a particular industry on its own, where you have companies end to end that are funding preclinical research in animals. And then you now move to clinical research, which is the one that you do in humans. And then you have chemistry, manufacturing, and control, which is done after your clinical research, after the drug or the product has gone through the different phases of research that it needs to go through. Then you move into manufacturing in large quantity, and then you do the go-to-market process, which is more like a phase 4, where you do labeling, you try to ensure all of the regulatory processes are in place, and then you now go into full-time manufacturing as well. And then you do the sales and marketing, and then safety and surveillance. And at the clinical level alone, yeah, there are so many opportunities for healthcare professionals to just dive into and enjoy and be be very useful or make a living from. At the regulatory area as well, this is another industry or another aspect of clinical research that a lot of people can also be successful in being involved in. Here already, sales and marketing is something that is already existing already in Nigeria, and you have quite a number of people in sales and marketing for pharmaceutical companies and all of them as well. And safety and surveillance is also something that is very, very interesting as well. You you would find you would find uh, quite a number of people in safety, in medical compliance and liaison and all of those things, but it's not really something that is very, very common, at least to our environment. But of course, it's something that is very big in the US and Canada and Europe and all of those ones. So, and one other point I want us to note, right? This is a big industry. In 2019 alone, the pharmaceutical industry spent $83 billion on research and development. Yeah, there's somebody that should be on mute, I think. Hello, can the person mute?
Unmute the person.
Yes, are we able to mute him? All right, thank you very much. So, like I was saying, so in 2019, the pharmaceutical industry spent $83 billion on research and development. If you adjust for inflation, that amount is about 10 times what the industry spent per year in the 1980s. This is according to the Congressional Budget Office in April 2021. That's the US Budget Office, US Congress Budget Office. And this is something that is fun so that we can see that there's a lot of money in this industry and these sponsors are willing to spend money. They spend a lot of money because once you get it right, one, you can hold the patents for a very long time before it becomes open market and every other company can make the drug as well by buying the patent from you and all of that, or getting a proportion from sales of other companies that are also making similar drugs. So if you are the first to make a breakthrough drug in a particular field or for a particular ailment, you are basically smiling to the bank. So these guys spend a lot of money on research so that they can be able to get these breakthrough drugs that are going to help change lives and make lives better. If you compare this to what exists in dentistry, right, it's not so far off. Like in the US, the dental market is about $260 billion. And even in some articles that I was able to find, you would find out that the dental market worldwide is not up to $83 billion. That's worldwide. But in the US alone, it's a lot of it is a lot if you compare just the US market alone and how much US makes in terms of dental services and all of that. But if you are going to expand that to the world population and compare with the world population, that reduces significantly as well because you are comparing with a larger population. So basically, that shows that there is a lot of opportunity in this field. And if you are worried about is there money to be made, yes, I can assure you there's money to be made as well. Yes. So, but of course, there's also a lot of hard work involved, like any other thing. So, phases of clinical research and why do I think this is important? It just brings home some of the things that I've been saying since as well. So, like I've spoken about discovery before, it takes about 2 to 10 years to be able to do the discovery process, which also involves the preclinical testing in a laboratory with animals and all of that. And then afterwards, you move to phase 1 testing. This is usually referred to as first in human trials, first in humans, not necessarily first in humans, because for cancer research, for example, because cancer drugs fight the particular types of body cells or that are responsible for that particular tumor progression or whatever. Because of that, you can't really test them in you can't really test them in normal human beings. But there are other researches and there are other drugs that you can test in human volunteers that are healthy human volunteers, basically what they call it. You can test them in healthy human volunteers, but not all the time do you test in healthy human volunteers. So that's basically phase 1 trials, and it's usually done in smaller number of um, participants. You have about 20 to 80, and its major reason or the rationale for doing phase 1 trials is basically to determine the safety and the right dose, the minimum tolerable dose or the maximum tolerable dose. At what dose does this drug start having effect that it can be tolerated? What is the maximum dose that the person can take before you begin to see adverse reactions or significant adverse reactions that can cause ailments for the patient? They would have specific adverse events that they are looking out for, maybe high blood pressure, maybe inability to maybe specific reactions of the body, maybe cough and diarrhea, a lot of those things, right? Once this drug starts causing those, then they say, okay, stop, we've got the maximum tolerable dose of this drug. And you have phase 2 trials, which you do in more participants, from about 100 to 300 participants. And in this instance, we are talking about patients themselves, those who have the ailments that drug that they said that drug can cure, or that drug can cure. Yes. So, and the whole essence is they are used to look at efficacy. So the efficacy is in the sense that this drug is able to cure that particular ailment that the patient has, that they've said that the drug can cure. And you would have inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria, certain things that the patient needs to have for them to be able to participate in the study, and things that if they have them, they won't be able to participate in the study. It's usually a very long list as well. And you need to make sure that these patients check all of those boxes for them to be able to participate in the study. And then the essence of this is to be able to look for efficacy and side effects, because efficacy in the sense that now you are targeting patient volunteers, those who have that ailment. So you want to know if the drug will work for them. And then side effects. What are those side effects in patients in study participants who are similar to those that would eventually use the drug if the drug gets to market? So that's why we do phase 2 trials. And then phase 3 trials, it's in more patients, 1,000 to 5,000 patients, volunteers, still patients who have the ailment, and it's used to monitor adverse reactions. And then for long-term use, that if these patients use this drug for longer periods, 2 years, 3 years, till they begin to see effects on their body, what happens exactly to them? What adverse events do you see? Do you see mental neurological issues? Do you see hypertension? Do you see a lot of things? There's a particular drug that we are testing at my site that we need to constantly monitor the patient for high blood pressure. So that is because the drug is directly related to one of the other aspects of the drug is hypertension. And you need to continuously monitor the patients to make sure that if their blood pressure goes above normal, there are specific things that you need to do to make sure that you don't deviate the protocols that have been set out for the study. So those are some of the things. Phase 3 trials in more patients with adverse reactions, test monitoring adverse reactions and long-term use. And then once we are done with phase 3 trial, at this point, the drug moves to FDA approval, review and approval. And this usually takes some time as well. And at this point, the sponsor has spent so much time, so much money trying to fund this trial. And then what happens if they don't get approved by FDA as a result of maybe specific rules, guidelines that they did not follow? So that's why, like I mentioned earlier, those guidelines, those rules are very, very important, because you don't want to get to the end and then they tell you that the reason why the drug cannot go to market is because of the rules that you didn't follow. And then once FDA has approved, you have the additional post-marketing testing, where in this case, phase 4 trials. I don't know if any of us have been in the clinic where you see marketers from different pharmaceutical companies would come and be like, doctor, please, we want you to test this particular new drug and help us give it to your patients. We have tested it compared to all these other ones that you are using in your clinic. Maybe it's meropenem. Okay, we have tested it compared to meropenem and amoxicillin. Found out that this particular one works better than meropenem and amoxicillin. So please help us test it. It's a very good broad spectrum as well. So that's what you have in post-market testing and phase four testing as well. So, and what I want us to see, what's very important here is you see the timeline from year 0 to about 16 years. So sometimes 16, 20 years, this research is going on and people are spending money into it. Someone once said it's about $1 billion to be able to implement clinical research studies every day across multiple sites. About $1 billion, and it costs a lot of money to be able to implement delays and all of those things. Also factor those ones in, and so those things affect the efficiency of the process. And you see, about 5,000 to 10,000 are screened, 250 studies going to preclinical testing, 5 enter clinical testing, and 1 probably gets FDA approved. So the number just gets smaller. Some die along the way, a painful death. So, yeah, so who are involved in the process of clinical research? So this slide just talks about organizations and individuals involved in clinical research. There are pharmaceutical companies, they are the ones that sponsor the trials. They spend a lot of money to make sure that this research happens and people get access to these drugs. Clinical research organizations, they are basically implementers of trials, and you have examples in Nigeria as well. There's IQVIA. I'm not sure if what they do in Nigeria is more clinical research organization work, but they are a big company that does a lot of things, and they are very popular here in Canada in terms of clinical research organization work as well, implementing clinical trials. And then you have clinical research managers who work with these clinical research organizations and pharmaceutical companies to be able to manage clinical trials across different sites. And there are different roles for clinical research managers. You have clinical trial manager, you have clinical projects manager, you have study startup manager, a lot of different types of managers who manage different phases or different projects at different phases as well. And you have regulatory affairs manager that ensures compliance of regulatory guidelines. They can work at different levels, at the pharmaceutical company level, at the CRO level as well. And pharmaceutical companies, you have your Pfizer, GSK, a lot of those guys. And then data managers, they are basically involved in statistical models and methodologies for clinical studies. You have medical writers, they develop study documents, reports, and publications. Hospitals, they are sites of clinical trials. Yes. So you guys work at a clinical trial site. And I would explain to you guys why you work at a clinical trial site. Then clinical research associates, they monitor studies to ensure compliance with study protocol, regulatory guidance, and GCP guidelines as well, or regulatory guidelines and GCP guidelines. So that's what clinical research associates do. This is also a very common field that is very, very interesting as well. And it's something that everybody on this call can get in on as well, with a lot of diligence and a lot of hard work. So, like I was saying before, hospitals are sites. Not okay, so maybe not all sites are hospitals, because there are some sites that are very small and they are basically for clinical trials alone, but a lot of hospitals are sites. So remember your the registrars and all those other guys, senior registrars, all of them have to do projects to be able to get their to be able to pass the residency and become consultants and all of that. And some of the studies that they do involve seeing patients, doing procedures for those patients, and seeing how those, maybe for example, restorative procedures for patients, and to see how long those procedures are retained, or the effect of those procedures on the patients, and they monitor over time and all of that, and be able to report based on all of the things that they have done in the clinic. That is that is a clinical trial, so to speak. The only difference between it is this: it is not being sponsored. There is no clinical research organization implementing it. Money is not being put into it. It's just somebody that is doing it to be able to fulfill part of their requirements to become a fellow or a consultant or something. So all of these opportunities, if you look around you, the different departments in dentistry and in dental school, even if it is what's the name now? Community dentistry. Yeah, I think it's community dentistry. So these guys have research and things that they do. And if we decide to get involved in those things, and the next couple of slides you see how we can get involved in those things, and we can use all of those opportunities to our benefits when we get out of dental school, because whatever you do would be eventually useful to you in the future, or whatever you do with your time right now. So job opportunities in clinical research assistants, research participants. Yes, I'm sure some people will be wondering, why did I put research participants here? And research participants is because some people actually collect money, or they make money off being research participants, and it's a lot of money for a lot of people to be research participants. But research assistants are very interesting because you would need them to be able to do your research. And I believe that if we see opportunities within dental school where we can volunteer as research assistants for free, for example, and they don't have to pay you, you can use that and leverage on all of those experiences when you get out, because that would not be the first time you are doing maybe data entry or a data collection or something. So we can decide to go and meet the senior registrar and tell them, please, can I be a research assistant on your project? I'll be willing to assist you to distribute questionnaires, to do data entry, or whatever it may be. And those things are going to be skills that you're going to find very useful in future. Clinical research coordinator / study coordinator. This is also a very interesting field as well. This is something I do on a day-to-day basis, and it's just basically coordinating research activities, making sure that everything that needs to happen for the research every day happens, and smooth running of the research at the site level or the hospital level, such that when the patients come, they get everything that they need to get and they go. And as a result of that, you do every other thing that's related to that study, and then the study is able to run smoothly within your site or your center. And then business development executive, these guys are in charge of, they work basically at the sponsor level and at the CRO level. And what they are majorly doing is making sure that contracts are developed, making sure that terms of reference are aligned with the scope of work that has been discussed, and everybody is sort of happy with what is being delivered, or what the CRO is going to deliver to the sponsor, or what the sponsor is getting from the CRO, so they can work on both sides. Then regulatory affairs executive, and these guys are basically involved in guidelines, in making sure that everybody's abiding by regulations, and they are also responsible for filling out forms that regulatory organizations require. Regulatory organizations are your FDA, Food and Drug Administration, Health Canada, and there are the European bodies as well that are responsible for collecting or requesting for specific regulatory documents as well for different studies that you want to carry out in different regions. You have the co-investigator, these are doctors or consultants who are specialized in that particular field, and they are responsible for day-to-day clinical activities for the patients in terms of seeing them, clinics, and all of that. Drug Safety Associate. The Drug Safety Associate is basically responsible for tracking adverse events. So adverse events are submitted from different sites to the sponsor, and then the drug safety or the somebody that the sponsor has identified as responsible for safety for that study. And the drug safety associate just reviews all of the safety documents or the adverse events that are happening on the study, prepares the summary or the report and sends it out to the different sites as well. So that's basically what the drug safety associate does. It's not a very task. It's something that anybody with medical experience can also do. And then clinical research associates, I've described that in the previous slide, just study monitoring and ensuring that the study abides by the guidelines that are required. And then the study manager / clinical research manager, who is day-to-day project management of the study, and then making sure that the study is implemented per timeline. All the different regulatory documents are constantly reviewed and updated by the different sites on the study as well. So, and then investigator, the investigator is the lead person who is responsible for implementing the trial at the site or at the hospital. And you have director of projects, who is much more senior, would be senior to the clinical research manager, and it can be at the CRO, clinical research organization level, or at the sponsor level as well. And then you have director of clinical research, which most times at the sponsor level. And then you have a data manager who is involved in statistical analysis, routine management of the data entry platform, reviews the data that's been entered, provides queries to the sites to let them know, guys, you have entered the wrong units here, or you have entered the wrong information here. Please review your source and then provide us with additional information or update your information as required. And then director of regulatory affairs, who sort of like would supervise the regulatory affairs associate or the regulatory affairs manager and all of that. So basically just overseeing guidelines and guidance development. They are the ones that would know if there are new guidelines to follow for a particular study, or they are the ones that would know if studies need to abide by specific guidelines that are country level specific and all of that. So that's some of the job opportunities in clinical research. And how to get into clinical research, to add skills. And I think this is a very, very important slide for everyone. And in terms of hard skills, some people will say they want to go and do a master's in public health. That's also fine as well. But there are opportunities in clinical research master's program as well. Clinical research management master's program, and this master's program have different what's the word now? Different routes or different curriculum really, or different areas of focus. So you can do it and just focus on pharmacovigilance. You can do it and focus on regulatory, or you can do it and focus on clinical research operations, which is the area that I really like. So, two universities I would always talk about: Arizona State University and Rutgers University. Both of them are in the US, right? And then certifications, and then GCP courses. Yes. So GCP courses, these are free courses as well. And I've put in links here. Hopefully I'll be able to share this slide with you guys so that you guys can, for those that are interested, can check out these links for the GCP courses and try to take them. They are all free courses. You just need to create an account, register, and be able to take them as well. Then that one that's also important is transportation of dangerous goods, which is some websites offer it for free, from some portals offer it for free, and some are paid as well. Then the CITI program, which is most of the courses on the CITI website are paid. Yes, most of the courses are paid, but you could find a couple of free courses as well. And then YouTube videos are free. So you can subscribe and consume the content from Danspera. Danspera is one of the popular clinical research related content creator on YouTube, and He has a site. He has done like almost end to end, from clinical research coordination to clinical research associate to project management, site activation. He has done almost everything that needs to be, that anybody can think about in clinical research. And he has a couple of sites as well. He helps people to manage their sites, startup sites, and all of those things. So it's a good resource for everybody to use as well. So now, soft skills, yes. So soft skills that you need to get into clinical research, and some of these things also apply as well to public health research as well. Attention to details, yes. And it's very, very important for you to be able to be very attentive, be very, very, be able to recognize issues very, very quickly, be able to know what are those things that you need to be able to solve a particular problem, be able to, when a document is sent to you, be able to look at it critically and be able to check for errors and all of that. So you don't just receive things and then send them out without checking them. That is lack of attention to details, because some things may be wrong inside that document. And also, never assume. Never assume that the person that is sending you something has read it well. Never assume that the person giving you a document has done all the due diligence on that document. You must do your own due diligence as well. You must review, you must look at it, you must. Negotiation skills, being able to know what people want, meet them at a middle ground, being able to give, and then while you expect to also take as well. So you must be able to say, for example, what would you want me to do, or what would you like me to do for you in this instance? And the person, okay, do 1, 2, 3. You would know that. Yeah, can we mute, please? Thank you. I'm sorry, it's distracting. So, okay, thank you. So yes, so I was talking about negotiation skills. So be able to say, okay, what would you like me to do for you? And the person says, okay, I would like you to do 1, 2. Yes, and then you be like, okay, thank you very much. So you try to help that person do those 1, 2 things, and then you know that by the time you have done that, the person sort of owes you 1. So the next time you are going, you can actually request for 3 things from that person, even though you helped them to do 2 before. So that's, and then be able to say specifically what you need, be able to communicate clearly in speaking and in writing. Organization skills is something that also is required in clinical research. Be able to organize your thoughts, organize your day, organize your time, organize the things that you need to do, and learn. You need to also know how to stay on track, basically. Like, if you are distracted, how do you get yourself back on track? If people come to ask you for things, how do you get yourself back on track? So you need to like stay organized. You need to have different ways of staying organized, project overviews, project summaries. So some of the things that you need to know how to keep them as well. But all of these things come with time and self-development. Interpersonal skills, be able to make friends, be able to make people trust you, make your colleagues trust you enough to be able to depend on you, that kind of thing. And then time management, you must be able to manage your time properly and make sure that you do the things that you're supposed to do within the time that you're supposed to do them. Don't procrastinate. Yes. I used to be a very good procrastinator before as well, but I'm trying to change. Use Microsoft packages. Yes. Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams. These are very important tools to be able to learn to use. You don't have to be an Excel guru, right? I don't say be able to use Excel like a statistician, no, but at least be able to use basic Excel, be able to develop PowerPoint presentations that are clear, not wieldy, not with a lot of pictures and things dancing around, but clear, concise, and then be able to use Outlook email function on Microsoft, and then Teams as well, be able to set up virtual meetings and moderate them. And these things are very, very important because I know people who are dentists, practicing dentists, and they can't use PowerPoint, they can't use Outlook, they can't set up virtual meetings. And these are very good dentists. So it's very, very important if you are interested. And there are free courses, there are courses that you can take on Udemy on how to use Excel, at least gets you off and running. And then project management and project support skills. For example, note taking, developing agenda, following up on action points, email etiquette, being able to send emails to people, being able to compose an email. It's very, very important. Then attitude. I put attitude in capital letter because attitude, everywhere attitude, because people are checking your reactions, people are checking how well you handle situations, people are checking how well you respond to tasks, to criticism, to feedbacks and all of those things. Attitude is very, very key to being successful. And then kindness. Yes, you have to be kind. Be kind to your colleagues, be kind to your co-workers, be kind to your patients, be kind. And then important next steps. Yes, read more about clinical research. Try to get into research early. Volunteering. I volunteered before. Yes, I worked as a volunteer, and maybe one day, maybe if we get back again, and I want to share with you guys maybe a timeline of events and how I actually got here and all of that. And volunteering is very important as well. Assisting with ongoing research in your academic institutions. I mentioned patient recruitment, data collection, data entry, e.g. You can, so with data entry, for example, you can learn how to use SPSS, EpiInfo, just doing data entry alone. You're not doing analysis, right? Literature reviews, data analysis, all of those things. Literature reviews, like I started literature review as a volunteer. And right now I ghostwrite for one blog like that. Let me just put it like that. Yes. Not like ghostwriting really, but you can see my name on the articles. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that you guys, with everything that is around you currently, you can draw experience from them. And those experiences can be useful, will be useful, not even can, will be useful in future. Yes. Start building your curriculum vitae now. Now, this is an information that I never had while I was in dental school. Develop a CV template and start populating your CV with your experiences, because every experience counts. If you don't take away anything from this session today, just take away one thing. Every experience counts. Every experience counts. Network with senior colleagues. LinkedIn is a good resource. Be willing to work for free to get the experience that you need. I'm just putting this out there. I'm not saying offer your services for free all the time, but if an opportunity comes and they don't want to give you money, please take that opportunity. But you don't necessarily have to go out and say, oh, I'm willing to work for free. No, don't make that leap of I'm willing to work for free. Because when you're reaching out to somebody, excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am, if there are any opportunities within your organization, I would be willing to contribute, or I would be willing to support. And then if the person says, oh, we don't have money to pay you, then you'd be like, oh, no problem, I'm available. But it's not like you're going forward to say, I'm willing to work for free, man, anything, man. No. Because if you find out that there are budgets, there are monies that have been allocated to that role, and you are just going to miss out on it because you said you are willing to work for free. So, but if you reach out to somebody and they said there are opportunities, but they don't have money to pay, please take those opportunities, because those opportunities are going to be helpful for you in the future. So, conclusion, remember every experience counts. Get involved in as many research-related activities as possible. Volunteer where possible. Network with senior colleagues. I have to bring those 2 points back here again. Or 3. Every experience counts. There is no punishment for asking questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Temitope. Thank you so much for this insightful presentation you shared with us. We are really appreciative. We really appreciate you for taking your time to explain in detail because this presentation is actually very detailed, and we really really appreciate it. We are very very grateful for sparing out of your busy schedule, sparing time out of your busy schedule to present and impact this knowledge on us. We are really really grateful, and without wasting much of our time, we would like to go into the question section. And if you have any question, please, if you have any question, drop them in the message. Yeah, the message option in the on this call. Please drop a message, your message, and I will read them out. There are some questions that some of our students have sent in on a Google form we sent out, and I will ask and read the question out, sir. So first question, sir, is sir, as for a fresh graduate, sir, when you graduated, sir, how what were the things that really helped you if you applied for a master degree in clinical research, sir? What were the things that really helped you in getting that admission into a master program, sir? If you got a master program for clinical research, sir.
So, so yeah. So the thing is, I didn't have to do a master's in clinical research. I actually did a master's in public health, and I did an online master's degree in public health with the University of Roehampton. But before going into the master's degree program, I'd volunteered for about, I think, about 8 months, and then I started as a technical assistant. That's more basically like a research assistant for about 1 year as well. So I had like a combined 16, 18 months experience before applying for that master's program. So one, I would say for most of these programs, experience counts, but whatever experience that you get now is something that you can put forward, which was why that slide that said start building your CV now is very, very important. Because if you are able to start building your CV now, then you are able to um, document your experiences as you go along. And those experiences are going to be very vital when you're applying for any program that you want to apply for. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for answering that. Another question, sir. How can a dentist participate in the pharmaceutical industry?
So, like I mentioned before, there are many opportunities for dentists, and people are not even looking at dentists alone. People are just looking at basically medical graduates across board, basically. And for because there are not so many, so for in Nigeria, for example, because there are not so many drug development, or there's almost like no drug development going on, or no novel drug development going on in Nigeria, right? The closest that you have to doing research would be public health research, because that is something that is much more common. But what I want to um, assure everyone on this call is every experience that you can get in any type of research would be very, very useful for you in getting into clinical research or even big pharma, as the case may be. But don't let us look at big pharma as a starting point, especially when you are in Nigeria. I want us to look at, if you are in, as you are in Nigeria, and quite a number of people on this call are going to be in Nigeria for at least some time, or at least maybe in another 1, 2, 3 years or thereabout. If you're interested in research, or even if your end goal is clinical research, as much as possible, try to get some form of experience in research generally. And most of this experience you can get volunteering. That's just it. And also, apart from University of Lagos, there are in University of Ibadan, for example, they are also very big on clinical research. In fact, they have PIs, they have clinical research coordinators, they have quite a number of guys there. In Unilag, I think there's a clinical research institute in Unilag or something with I've forgotten the name of the woman, but I think she's quite popular on LinkedIn as well. And these are places where anybody interested in clinical research can go and like you are not really going to be in their faces and all of that, but what the impression you want to give them is this is a field that I'm interested in, this is something I'm interested in, and this is something that I would like to be given an opportunity in, maybe by volunteering or just joining a team that is currently doing one work in research or another and just being part of that process. And you document that in your CV as your experience. Like I always say something like there's experience by hearing, there's experience by doing. Just the way you have heard some things today now, you can go out there and put on your CV that you have requisite experience with phase one, phase two, phase three trials. All you need to be able to justify that talking to anybody about them is to read more about what phase one, phase two, phase three trials are, or even be able to mention some of the things that we have spoken about today. And the person would not doubt that you have not heard phase one, phase two, phase three trials before. The most difficult part can be implementing or doing the work when it comes to it. That is where volunteering comes in. If you mix experience by hearing with experience by doing, when you say the things that you have done, people won't be able to categorize or be able to delineate between what you have, what you heard and what you actually did. But you must do something or you must be doing something because that is what is going to validate all of the experiences that you have written down on your CV. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Another question, sir. What is the career progression like as a clinical researcher? And concerning the money part, sir, how lucrative is it compared to a clinical a dentist working as a dental practitioner?
Okay, so now the barriers of entry or the requirements for entry for both are not exactly the same. Like for example, I would say for you to be able to practice as a dentist in Canada, you would need 3 years. You would need 3 years or 3 years of
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Dr. Timtope. I
yes,
think the question is, what is the career progression like as a clinical researcher, and
yes,
also what's the salary like compared to someone that is practicing as a dentist or a specialty in dentistry?
yes.
Okay, sir.
So so in terms of entry, it can be from a clinical research coordinator to a clinical research associate to a senior clinical research associate to um, clinical trial manager to study startup manager to a director and all of that. As a clinical research coordinator in Canada, you can be doing as much as 70 to 80,000 Canadian dollars. In the US, you are doing more than 100,000 Canadian, more than 100,000 US dollars as a clinical research coordinator. You can do as much as 150 to $200,000 per year as well as a clinical trial manager, depending on the CRO or even the pharmaceutical organization that you're working with. So, in terms of earnings, right, the opportunities are there. In terms of progression, there is always one thing or the other to do. You can pivot from one particular area, from site management and clinical research operations to regulatory to education. There are a lot of things that you can do, but it's everything depends on your passion and your areas of interest, right? That's one. And then like I was about to say, like the barrier of the requirements for entry into clinical research is not the same as the requirements for entry into dentistry, especially if you travel outside of Nigeria. In Nigeria, you can start practicing dentistry automatically almost immediately, yes, but you are not going to earn as much as a dentist outside of Nigeria, obviously. But what are those requirements that you need to get into dentistry outside of Nigeria? And what are those requirements that you need to get into clinical research outside of Nigeria? They are also like very different, and one sort of affords you that opportunity to just be able to get in and be able to start working legitimately and be able to earn money, and over time you grow that career. Basically, I hope that makes sense.
Yes, sir. It makes sense, sir. So please, if you have any more questions, please drop them in the chat box. Another question, sir. Can a dental graduate here in Nigeria get with experience get a direct job overseas like USA, Canada, UK as in clinical research without getting any degree over there in the country? Can you get a direct job from here in Nigeria, sir?
So again, there are opportunities for sponsorship, but what kind of roles would they be sponsoring for? What level of experience would that person have that would require the employer to sponsor the person from Nigeria? Remember that we don't have we are not big on pharmaceutical industries and drug manufacturing and all of those things, right? So it means that the opportunities that you would ordinarily get here are not going to be as much. What the closest you would have to opportunities or to experience in Nigeria would be site level management or site level operations and all of that. But be that as it may, whatever experience you have here is something that can help you if you get outside or when you get outside of the country. That is number one. And then number two is if you are gaining experience in Nigeria as well and you're looking to use that experience outside of Nigeria, you have to be gaining experience in a lot of things. Like your skill sets have to be so um you have to consistently improve your skill sets up until that level where you are able to get employers that believe that okay, your skill sets, the value that you are going to add to their team or to their organization is much more than what they currently have available or what they can find in that environment. But in clinical research, that would be extremely difficult because you have the Indians there. The Indians are there that are making so much money and they have so much investment, they have so much going on in their country. And you even have sponsors or clinical research organizations that have funded or that have establishments in India. But you can't find most of those guys in Nigeria because they don't see it as like a market. But of course, because India is also big on drug development, they have quite a number of pharmaceutical companies who are either taking off patents from companies in America and reproducing them in India. So it depends on you need to know the people that you are competing with in terms of the job space and all of that. But if you get out of Nigeria and you're able to get to a different environment like Canada, the US, and all of that, you are in the US and you are sort of like also still building that experience within that space. And then at that point in time, you have a very good chance of competing with anybody from the world, from the rest of the world because you are you have your Nigerian experience, but in addition to that, you have experience in the US or in Canada doing something similar as well. I hope that makes sense. I really do.
That makes sense, sir. We, I think that really makes sense, sir.
Respond to that.
Okay, the question says, aside clinical research, what opportunity? I think that's part of the presentation you made today. Aside clinical research, what other opportunities are feasible for a BDS degree holder?
Yeah. So most of the things I mentioned today are basically clinical research related opportunities, right? But as a BDS holder, I would say generally, maybe something that I should have also mentioned earlier, like number one is what are you passionate about and what are you not passionate about, or what at least two things, right? If you don't know what you want to do, at least know what you don't want to do. That's a very good way to narrow down on things. So if you know specifically what you don't want to do, then that can start opening up your eyes or opening up ideas or areas for you to say, okay, these are the things that I would like to do. And for a BDS graduate, the opportunities there are a lot of opportunities, but how well do you want to apply yourself? I've done data collection before. I've done patient recruitment. I've done monitoring. I've done site visits and inspection. I've done data entry. I've done data analysis. I've done report writing. I've done protocol development. I've done so I just keep diving into all of them. I know that I don't want to do dentistry. So I begin to be like, okay, what are the other things that I want to do? So if you know what you don't want to do, right? Then you will know your head will open up, your brain would open up to all of those other opportunities available to you that you can do. But there are a lot of things that you can do. But you need to realize that you need to build the experience in those fields and you need to be willing to ask for help because help is not just going to come like that. You need to be willing to ask for help. You need to make sure that people will be able to trust you. You need to be loyal. And all of those things are very, very important, such that if people feel like you are loyal and they can trust you with resources, they can trust you with tasks and all of those things, then you begin to build those relationships. And as more opportunities open, you get invited and you just continue to grow like that till you can do things on your own and all. So basically that's it for me.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. One last question, sir, tonight. Well, over here, sir. So, sir, are there um scholarship for masters program that are clinical research oriented? Are they sponsored or yeah? I think yeah, scholarship sponsored or no? Scholarship for masters program in clinical research related program, sir.
Yeah, so I'm not so sure on scholarship because I'm not big on scholarship anymore. But those two schools that I mentioned have like specific opportunities and funding opportunities as well. That's Rutgers and Arizona State. And the reason why I sort of pick those two to sort of talk about is because like you are able to use like Rutgers sort of does these how do I describe it? They have this capstone related part of the project that allows you to be able to do internship in a in a pharmaceutical company and all of that, which you don't ordinarily get on. You won't get that opportunity anywhere else, or I don't know of anywhere else that you would get that opportunity to be able to move from school directly to pharma, except for example, the pharma companies themselves come to the school to come and hire, which is very, very, very possible. It's something that even some CROs do. They go to schools and hire the top graduating students or those in the final year and give them opportunities to also come and work with them. That's one. And then with Arizona State University, it allows you to be able to with that degree, be able to get additional certifications with Association of Clinical Research Management, that I think ACRM or something like that. So, and you can be able to use some of the things, the degree from Arizona State University to be able to get additional qualifications, and it allows you to be able to get those additional qualifications as maybe CCRP or program management related CCRP certifications. Those are ACRP related certifications. That's it. Association of Clinical Research Professional Certifications. So Arizona State University degree helps you to be able to, because they're one of the schools that they recognize their degree. So that's why I put those two here. But that list is not exhaustive. There are other schools that also provide clinical research opportunities as well, which can feel free to research. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. A big very thank you to you, sir, for this wonderful time and presentation you've had with us. We are very grateful for answering our questions and clearing our doubts and exposing us to a lot of opportunities that we do not know before and now we do. And on this note, I would like to say a thank you also to every ULADite and every dental student on this call tonight. The program still continues next week, and we have more speakers that are coming on board to share opportunities with us. So I would like to say good night to everybody, and also my president here. I want to give us the final note here. Dr. Shayomi.
Okay, all right, Michelle. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Care, for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us. And thanks to every ULADite on the call too. So I think we can call it a night.
Thank you, everyone, and have a
All
great
right, Johnny, my
evening.
sister. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, have a great day, sir.
Listen.